Today we are going to be continuing our discussion on the fundamentals of concealed carry. We're going to be using my Glock 19 Gen 5. This video we're going to be talking about why it's important for you to carry a spare magazine. We're going to talk about the proper techniques of loading or reloading a semi-automatic firearm, and then we're going to be talking about how to deal with some basic malfunctions. The reason you want to carry a spare magazine is simply because you may need to fix that gun. In an event where something has happened to where your magazine has had a failure, whether the base plate has come off, which has happened, whether the magazine has fallen out for whatever reason, you're going to need to be able to get that gun back into service. And having a spare magazine does give you that advantage of having the extra ammo, but in many cases, instead of trying to fix a mess that magazine could turn into, simply dropping that one out and putting that spare mag in is going to give you a much faster response. The magazine release on most semi-automatic handguns is just a simple button. That's all it is. When you press that button, that magazine should come out of the gun fairly easily. There are a lot of folks out there that will add extended magazine releases to their firearms. I am not a big supporter of that, and if you go back and check out some of the other videos that I've done talking about it, you'll know why. The fact is, under stress, you could inadvertently hit that magazine release, drop that magazine out, and then you basically have a single shot pistol. That's something that you do not want. It was designed to be a little bit difficult to reach. Okay, you need to adjust your hand slightly in the way that you're gripping to be able to press that magazine release in order to drop that magazine out before you come in with that fresh magazine. If the grip on your gun is one that you cannot effectively adjust your hand and hit that magazine, you might want to try a different type of firearm, a different type of grip on your gun. That way, again, you need to make sure that you're using a gun that fits your hand. Now guys, we're going to actually go through some of this. First thing I want to talk about is, again, why you do not need an extended magazine release on your firearm. We're going to go ahead and chamber a round in my gun, and then if I was to get on target, and again with that extended magazine release, if I accidentally hit that magazine release, and you guys can see there, that magazine is loose. Okay, under stress, you may not even notice that, but we're going to go ahead and see what happens right here. Okay, so I'm going to aim onto my target, and I'm going to press that first shot, just like that. I've pressed that shot, but when I go again and I go to fire that next shot, all I get is a click. Okay, that is not what you want. You want to make sure that that mag is seated, and this is also going to get into dealing with those malfunctions. Simply take the bottom of your hand, slap the bottom of that magazine, and then cycle that action to make sure that that mag is seated properly, and then you should be able to chamber that round properly. Just like that. When you have gone to slide lock, this is what we're seeing here. We have now reached slide lock. That magazine needs to come out. I need to take my support hand, reaching towards wherever I keep my spare magazine. Putting that finger on the tip of that bullet, just by feel, I know which way that magazine is oriented. I'm going to adjust that gun in my hand just enough to be able to hit that magazine release, and then I'm going to press that magazine release, let that magazine fall home. Come in with my fresh magazine, insert it up over the top, let that action go just like that. Do not worry about trying to hit that slide release. Under stress, you're going to lose minor muscle control. You need to be thinking about large muscle groups. Doing the slingshot method is going to be more effective. Now that we have that new magazine in, I'm simply going to re-aim, press my shot, and again, there again, I have solved the problem. Another key point that you want to remember, whenever you ram that magazine home, that slide can fall on its own. Just the inertia can knock that slide stop loose. You still need to run that slide because you do not know whether or not that gun chambered a round. Okay, if I had a situation to where I ram it home and it falls, did it chamber a round? I don't really know. All I know is if I took aim and I press that trigger, all I got is a click. Okay, you do not want that. Each time that you slam that gun, slam that magazine home, run that action. And even if it spits out a cartridge, don't worry about it. You mainly want to make sure that you are loaded. You don't know for sure one way or another whether it loaded a round when you slammed it in and that slide went forward. Running that action on your own is going to help to ensure that you have a loaded gun. Okay guys, let's go through a top to bottom scenario. if there was a situation to where I needed to draw my firearm to defend myself, what would I do? Okay, I'd come out. If in the event I did something inadvertently, like that extended magazine release, if I hit it and let that magazine drop down slightly, I may not know that. Okay, I may not know it till I press that trigger. So I'm going to take aim. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm moving out of the situation. I'm going to press that shot. Okay, I have fired that shot, but you'll notice the action of my gun is closed. I'm assuming that it just simply chambered another round. However, when I press that trigger again, all I get is a click. So what I need to do, make sure that magazine is seated properly, take my hand, ram it home, and run that action, okay? Make sure that you do that every time. Extend back out, fire my shot, okay? Now I have gone to slide lock. That slide lock is an indication that I have got to reload my gun. So my support hand moving to where my spare magazine is, that primary hand turning in my grip, just so you can see there, guys. I want to turn it slightly just where I can get to that magazine release. I'm going to let that magazine fall. I'm going to come out with my fresh mag. I am going to insert that fresh mag, ramming it home. Just because that slide went forward does not mean I don't follow my procedure, okay? I want to make sure that that gun is loaded. I want to make sure that I have a live round chambered. So now that I've got that magazine inserted, I'm running that action anyways. I don't care. You can see there, it spin out a casing, okay? I loaded that in deliberately to show you what I'm talking about. Doesn't matter. Let that round go. Make sure that gun is loaded. Now that I know it's loaded, I can extend back out, take aim on my target, press the shots just like that, okay? Very simple. Make sure to follow those steps precisely. Let's take a minute to talk about another type of malfunction that you can have. This is something that I've staged in this gun, and just to show you guys, what we have here is a double feed, okay? The indication that I have is that my slide is locked open, okay? So what do? I follow my procedure. Under stress, you want to minimize the amount of things that you need to do. You want to keep it as simple as possible, okay? Now that I know that that action is simply locked open, I don't know that I got a double feed. All I know is that I need to reload that gun, and that's exactly what you do. I go to press that magazine release. It does not come out, okay? If I cannot get that magazine to fall on its own, what I need to do is I need to strip that magazine out, throw it down, get it out of the way, bring up my fresh mag, insert it, and again, following my procedure, run the action of that gun, okay? And then extend out and fire. Just like that, guys. Make sure that you follow those procedures. I wanted to take a minute to show you guys something that you need to know about, especially if you have a Glock or something like that. This is an early model Gen 5. There are some of the differences between this version of the Gen 5 compared to some of the newer ones. If you go over to my channel, you can actually see where I talk about that. The early model Glocks, Gen 5s, had this little cutout here on the grip, and what that was for was to aid you in being able to strip the magazine out of that gun, okay? You can see there I have that opening to where I can grip it and strip it out just like that. If I look at the magazine for the Gen 5 compared to the earlier models, you can also see on that base plate that there is some differences as well. Okay, the Gen 5 base plate has a little bit more of a lip there, and it was again intended for you to be able to get a hold of that lip and strip that magazine out of the gun. Glock changed that in the following versions of the Gen 5, as well as a couple of other things. But again, this is a Gen 5, as you can see there on the side. But that is just something that I wanted to point out about the Glock firearms and why that is. But you still, regardless of what you have, if you have a situation to where you cannot get that magazine to come out on its own, you need to grip it and strip that magazine out of the gun. One thing you can use to simulate malfunctions with your handguns is simply use some spent casings. You can also use snap snap caps or other thing. What you want to do is you want to introduce some type of stress into your training. Okay, if you cannot perform it in training under a controlled environment, you're not going to be able to perform it under stress in a real life situation. You will not rise to the occasion. You will default to the level of training that you have mastered. Again, taking some spent casings, that's all I need for practicing these scenarios. Always remember, guys, what you want to do is solve as many problems as you possibly can without having to think about it. You want to simplify your reloading into the simplest form. If you have a problem, if you get just a click and no bang, the gun doesn't fire, make sure that magazine is seated properly. If that gun has the action locked open, then reload the gun. Whether or not you have a double feed or whatever, it does not matter. Get that gun reloaded. Just remember those basic steps, follow those basic steps, and guys, again, do not try to hit that slide release. Under stress, you're going to miss it, okay? Use that slingshot method. It's going to work regardless of the type of gun that you're using. Guys, hope you liked the video. Be sure to leave me a comment down below. Check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Subscribe if you're new here. Check out all the links down below. Go over, become a channel member. Visit my website at boomsticktactical.com. Check out the rest of the videos in this playlist, and we'll see you next time.